My husband vanished for 3 years, only to return with a young girl. The moment he entered, he knelt before his father-in-law, declaring that the Jing family had ancestral teachings, a life-saving debt must be repaid with one's body. His father-in-law then presented me with the dilemma: Yuzhua has sacrificed so much for this family these past 3 years. If she does not consent, I will not agree. I smiled, no problem. I forgot to tell my husband, I also bore a son to another man. Sister Bai saved your life, so you pledged yourself to her. But Magistrate Song saved your entire family. If I pledge myself in your stead, that seems only fair, doesn't it? I was discussing with the kitchen maid whether to steam or stew the fresh river fish. The gatekeeper scrambled in, panting, "Master. The eldest master has returned." I froze for a moment. Shouldn't he still have over a year left? How could he have come back early? In my past life, Jing Yuchuan received a letter right after our wedding ceremony. Without even lifting my veil, he rushed out of the house in a panic. And was never seen again. Mother Jing wept constantly, Father Jing sighed deeply. Rumors spread like wildfire. Everyone said I, the lowly daughter of a martial artist, had used my favors to climb the social ladder and snagged the scholar son of the Ministry of Rights vice minister. That I was allowed into the Jing household was down to their kindness. Too bad such a fine family ended up marrying a harbinger of misfortune who cursed her husband. After that, whenever I walked down the street, children would run up and spit at me. Later, my father-in-law was implicated and imprisoned, and all our family assets were confiscated. I rented a small room with my mother-in-law and younger sister-in-law. By day, I taught martial arts, by night, I washed clothes for others. Only then could we barely scrape by. My mother-in-law was frail, and my younger sister-in-law was young. They could only sit at home wiping away tears, reminiscing about past glory. They couldn't help at all. After tending to my employer, I had to care for them both. Whenever I earned a little silver, I had to scheme and lobby everywhere. After over 3 grueling years, I finally caught a break through someone else's influence and had my father-in-law's case overturned. By the time Jing Yuchuan returned with that Bairuolian, our home had restored its former appearance, and my father-in-law had even been promoted. He disregarded my hardships in supporting the family, spreading rumors that I had been unfaithful and immoral while he was away. All to tarnish my reputation and force me out of my position as his lawful wife. The Jing family claimed to uphold strict family traditions, yet after breaking one of my legs, they imprisoned me within the mansion. The servants, watching the master's expressions, fed me only stale food. I cried, begged, cursed. None stirred. Finally, my heart died. I ground the rope to shreds with stones, picked up a blood-stained cleaver with my own hands, and slipped through the back window into Jing Yuchuan's room under cover of night. One chop, he was done for. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time before my father-in-law's imprisonment. Smoothly, I presented Jing Yuchuan with a cuckold's hat known to the entire household. Upon his return, Jing Yuchuan rushed straight to my father-in-law's study, grabbed Bairuolian, and knelt down with a thud. "Father, I am not a man who covets beauty. Lianer saved my life. If I did not repay her with my body, would I not betray father's teachings? That Song Yuzhua is merely the daughter of a courier, she was never fit to be the mistress of the Jing household." Jing Yuchuan's voice abruptly halted as he pushed open the door. Under their astonished gazes, I sauntered to the seat of honor, plopped down, and waved dismissively from my lofty perch, "Pleased to make your acquaintance. I am the coarse daughter of a courier you speak of. Continue, I'm listening." My father-in-law awkwardly picked up his teacup, sipping repeatedly. Perhaps his hand trembled, for the lid clinked against the cup with a series of sharp tings. Jing Yuchuan rose, elegantly smoothing his robe as he lowered his gaze to appraise me. "Madam Song, considering your 3 years of hardship if not merit, I may not divorce you. But Lianer must not suffer injustice. Henceforth, she shall be the principal wife in this household, while you remain a secondary wife. The Jing family's ancestral precept is clear, favors must be repaid. As a woman of the Jing household, harbor no jealousy or resentment." Nice words. When the dam collapsed, my father saved 4 officials right before everyone's eyes. My father grew up by the river, an expert swimmer who'd saved lives countless times. But when he pulled out Mr. Jing, the man kicked and clawed, clutching my father for dear life and forcing him to swallow a mouthful of water. Later, Mr. Jing made it ashore, but my father sank beneath the waves. When Mr. Jing awoke, he threw himself face first onto the ground, weeping before everyone. He declared that such a life-saving debt could never be repaid, even through 9 deaths. If this hero had a son, he would adopt him as his own. If he had a daughter, she would become a daughter-in-law of the Jing family. The Jings used this betrothal to pay for my father's life and elevate their own reputation. They gained everything. The scheming magistrate Jing failed to anticipate Jing Yuquan's refusal. He heard that Master Song's daughter was as plain as salt, yet he couldn't refuse the betrothal for fear of tarnishing his reputation. On their wedding night, she vanished without a trace. The reputation I'd earned as a bringer of misfortune? He engineered it himself. He didn't want others to call the Jing family ungrateful, nor did he want me, the daughter of a courier. So he simply abandoned me at the Jing residence, hoping I'd give up. But he never imagined I'd be so stubborn. I endured for over 5 years. By the time he couldn't bear it anymore and returned, I'd been worn down by hardship until my face was sallow, my hair thinning, and I'd grown gaunt and aged. Even then, knowing I'd done the Jing family a favor, he showed no intention of repaying it. Now, seeing I'm somewhat attractive, not as wretched as rumored, his attitude has shifted again. It was utterly disgusting. My father-in-law cleared his throat awkwardly, stroked his beard, and tossed the difficult question my way. Yuzhua has sacrificed so much for this family these past 3 years. You must not betray her trust. But this debt of saving her life is truly immense. Yuzhua, what do you say? I waved dismissively, meeting Jing Yuquan's gaze with a smile. It's no problem. I forgot to tell you, my husband, I also bore a son to another man. Sister Bai saved your life, so you pledged yourself to her. But Lord Song of the Northern Command saved your entire family. Isn't it only fair I pledge myself to him in your stead? Jing Yuquan's face darkened instantly. He frowned and glared at me. Song Yuzhua. What nonsense are you spouting? How dare you joke about such things? I've always known your origins are lowly, your manners coarse, ignorant of literature and lacking shame. But my Jing family still has its dignity. Very well. Since you're so untamed, you might as well cede the position of primary wife to Lianer. At least she's well-read and courteous, she won't spout nonsense and bring disgrace upon me. I glanced at him indifferently and sneered. Last year, your father and Princing spent half a month drinking and carousing. Then Princing was investigated and convicted of treason. Were it not for Magistrate Song, the entire Jing household would be reunited in the underworld by now. And this opportunity to climb into bed was snatched from a group of fallen noble ladies. Jing Yuquan turned blankly to his father-in-law, only to find him with head bowed, cowering in his chair like a quail. He felt as if struck by lightning, but you couldn't. You shouldn't have. Sensing the tension, Bai Ruolian pressed her lips together and continued softly, I understand your predicament, sister. After all, your reputation is now tarnished, making it difficult to find a suitable match outside the estate. Yet the Jing family has been a pillar of integrity for generations. Even if it means facing imprisonment, we should trust the emperor and the law. If word of your actions spreads, won't the Jing family be mocked by all under heaven? Her words jolted him awake. Jing Yuquan instantly straightened his back, as if suddenly finding his backbone. Lianer is right. The Jing family has been upright for generations. Even if we lose our lives, we must never lose our integrity. His Majesty is wise and discerning. He will surely see through this. Even if father faces hardship, it will be no more than a few years in prison. We Jings have nothing to hide from heaven and earth. What is there to fear? You foolish woman, so narrow-minded. Out of fear of being implicated, you resorted to such vile, despicable acts, tarnishing the Jing family's reputation. Considering your ignorance and dullness, I won't punish you. You may leave the household of your own accord. I toyed with the cup in my hand, watching him with a half-smile. Are you certain? Certain. Jing Yuquan hesitated for a moment before nodding firmly. Rest assured, you'll merely lose your status as mistress and your right to bear children. You may still reside here and enjoy the privileges of a noble concubine. Once Lianer and I have our child, we'll treat you with respect. As for the bastard you bore, we shall never meet again. His lips parted, sealing my fate for the rest of my life. My troublesome father-in-law dared not even lift his head. The once formidable magistrate Song had lost his position and fortune over the past year. Not a single loyal servant remained by his side. His backbone had long since collapsed. I set my cup aside and drew 2 thin sheets of paper from my sleeve pocket. No need for the Jing family to trouble themselves. I've already prepared the divorce papers. Jing Yuchuan stared in stunned silence. After a long moment, he frowned and asked me, "Have you truly thought this through? Without the Jing name, you're no longer a noble lady. You'll be nothing but a lowly commoner, trampled underfoot. This marriage was secured by your father's life-saving debt. To elevate you to the heavens, he sacrificed his very existence. Are you truly without regret? Ascend to heaven? More like a fiery pit. What worthless place could possibly be worth my father risking his life to scheme for?" I pushed the paper and brush away, nodding firmly. "The betrothal gifts remain, the dowry is mine. Henceforth, we are strangers. Whoever regrets this is a fool." Perhaps my disdain wounded his fragile pride. Jing Yuchuan snatched the divorce papers without glancing at them. "The Jing family isn't so desperate we'd covet your measly silver coins." With that, he swept his hand across the paper, signing and sealing it. He completely missed his father's face turning ashen in that instant. Jing Yuchuan's disdain for my dowry was somewhat understandable. When I first married into the Jing family, I truly had no dowry. But he didn't know that while his father had avoided prison, he'd lost the family fortune. Even this ancestral home had been mortgaged, requiring monthly rent payments. Everything within his sight had been arranged by my son's father, Song Huiyan. The residences of other Jing family members had long been stripped bare, hollowed out like snow caves. I had been cautious back then. Periodically, I had Song Huiyan take gift receipts to the government office for record keeping, all listed as dowry. Though this bypassed proper procedures, who would be so reckless as to risk the wrath of the Northern Command over such trifles? Now that we must leave, Ji Nanny, sent by Song Huiyan, excitedly waved a stack of documents 3 fingers thick and asked me, "Madam, how shall we move?" I patted her shoulder. "We move as if leaving a barren wasteland." Ji's eyes lit up instantly. "Understood." Without another word, she rolled up her sleeves and led the guards in hauling chests and cabinets. They dismantled tables, tore down beams, ripped up sod, and dug up tree roots. Even the newly replaced roof tiles weren't spared. Whenever Jing Yuchuan tried to intervene, Ji rolled her eyes skyward. "This mother-of-pearl inlaid ice mirror isn't something your Jing family can afford." Magistrate Song, fearing the lady might suffer from the summer heat, commissioned craftsmen from the palace to make it. "Move aside, don't touch it. What are you dreaming about? How could your family possibly have a writing desk with a qilin head inlaid with gold and jade? This is an imperial gift specially brought by Magistrate Song out of concern for the lady. The beams aren't yours either. Lord Song personally selected them to ensure the lady's safe pregnancy." The repeated invocation of Lord Song and the display of opulent objects made Jing Yuchuan's eyes burn. His brow furrowed tightly as he stammered, "Does Song Huiyan realize this is the Jing residence? His actions amount to illicit relations. Such conduct makes him unfit for office." Nanny Ji cast him a dismissive glance, her face beaming as she cradled a box of ink sticks. "Oh my, this exquisite Huizhou ink was gifted to the mistress by our young master. Our young master, you see, has such a full forehead and square jaw. They say he's a fine specimen, bearing a striking resemblance to Lord Song himself." With each word from Nanny Ji, Jing Yuchuan's face grew paler. Unable to counter her, he turned, flushed crimson, and stormed straight toward me, spittle flying. "Song Yuzhua, you've strayed from your vows. How dare you flaunt it so brazenly? If word spreads and others learn of this, where will the Jing family's honor rest?" I raised my hand to touch the icy jade bracelet on my wrist, speaking with utter indifference. "Feel free to shout louder, so the neighbors can hear clearly." I couldn't care less. After all, it's not my reputation at stake. The Jing family traded their dignity long ago for food and drink. "Song Yuzhua, you truly are." Jing Yuchuan's teeth clenched so hard they ground together. After a long moment, he finally spat out through gritted teeth, "You shameless, lowly whore." He still hadn't grasped the gravity of the situation. Hadn't he considered? With the household in such turmoil, why was his cunning father weeping silently? Why was his usually domineering mother utterly speechless? She only swung her arm viciously, aiming to strike me. The next instant, 2 guards shot forward, one on each side, kicking him hard enough to send him tumbling to the ground. The usually unflappable, slender-as-bamboo Master Jing rolled clumsily into a tree pit. His robe was torn wide open, and a large patch of skin was scraped off his cheek. Gazing at the disheveled Jing Yuchuan, I sneered, "Jing Yuchuan, you call me shameless. But what about your parents? They knelt before me, begging me to save the Jing family by marrying their daughter. Are they not shameless? When I went to the Song residence, it was your father who personally drove the carriage. If you utter another word I dislike, I'll go out and broadcast all your family's sordid affairs. Let the whole world know that the Jing family, once a paragon of integrity for generations, now survives by selling the flesh of their daughter-in-law. This green hat? Your parents gifted it to you." I recall scholars often say, when an elder bestows a gift, one must not refuse. To do so is discourteous, right? With that, I didn't even glance at Jing Yuchuan's expression before turning and climbing into the carriage. It was the height of summer, the heat unbearable. Nanny G had already prepared iced fruit inside the carriage. I nestled comfortably inside, watching as the Jing residence was torn down piece by piece. Bai Ruolian stood amid the ruins, her face pale and lips tightly pressed together, glaring at me with a grim expression. As if a sudden thought struck her small mind, she stood frozen for a moment. Then, clutching Jing Yuchuan's arm tightly, she declared, word by word, "Husband, Lianer is not one to share only in prosperity but not in hardship. What does it matter if she takes our modest fortune? Our love is what truly matters. You've read widely, earned a reputation for talent, and studied under the great scholar Meng. The top scholar's position is as easy for you as taking candy from a baby. Why fear you can't rise again?" Jing Yuchuan's eyes reddened with emotion. Covered in disheveled rags, he and Bai Ruolian clung tightly to each other in the empty courtyard. They paid no heed to his parents and sister, who stood shivering in the small wood shed, clad only in their undergarments. They huddled in the tiny wood shed, shivering violently. Their hairpins and headdresses had been stripped clean. Not even an outer robe remained. Nanny G strode past them with her head held high, her face twisted in disgust. She fanned her nose with a handkerchief. "By rights, the provisions your family has consumed these past days belong to our mistress. They should be reclaimed. But the mistress is kind-hearted. We'll consider it keeping dogs." The Jing mansion's gates were stripped of their gilded door knockers, leaving only 2 hollow, gaping holes. The coachman cracked his whip, and the carriage rattled forward. The sound was like the fuse of firecrackers. Jing Yu's father's curses, his mother's wails, and Jing Yu's own tirade erupted all at once from within. Overnight, the household was stripped bare. Pitiful indeed. Heh heh. They deserved it. In my past life, I'd starve myself to serve my mother-in-law and sister-in-law first. I rose early to brew tonics for my mother-in-law, prepared 3 meals a day, and after finishing all chores, I would starch and wash my sister-in-law's precious silk garments. I worked myself down to skin and bones, while they grew plump and rosy-cheeked. In the end, all I received were a few insincere thanks. One claimed she'd treat me like her own daughter, the other called me the best sister-in-law. I thought my sincerity had finally earned genuine reciprocity. But when I was locked away, they never even brought me a bowl of water. Instead, they fawned over Bai Ruolian daily. They treated my sincerity like trash, despised my background, and blamed me for Jing Yuchuan leaving home for 5 years. They even claimed my past public appearances had sullied the Jing family name and tarnished the reputation of its women. This time, the entire family would experience firsthand what it truly means to be destitute, pure and simple. Ji Nanny was a remarkable woman, not only strong but possessing a voice that could pierce the heavens. She wept beside the carriage the entire journey, wiping away tears as she wailed, "My poor mistress. You guarded this home for 3 years, finally welcoming your husband back, only to be cast out. That heartless couple. They ate and drank at your expense, yet still tried to smear your name." A torrent of lamentation. Emotionally rich, heartfelt sincerity. Over the past year, I'd already spread the news that Jing Yuchuan wasn't dead far and wide. Even though I lived in luxury within the mansion, outside its walls I wore plain cotton robes daily, never adorned with jewelry. When questioned, I'd say my mother-in-law was devout, and as her daughter-in-law, I naturally observed fasting and vegetarianism. To others, I wasn't a hard-fated woman who brought misfortune to her husband, but a pitiful wife betrayed by a faithless man and bullied by her mother-in-law. Jing Yuchuan wants his reputation? Well, I want mine too. Outside the carriage. Nanny G recounted every injustice I'd endured over the years, one by one. Inside the carriage. I leaned against the soft couch eating grapes, occasionally letting out a quiet sob. We drove around and around, circling the southern part of the city for a long time. That day, the entire southern part of the city knew Jing Yuchuan had committed adultery on his wedding night. Lost in pleasure, he cared not even when his own parents faced calamity. Upon his return, he dared to demand his concubine be made his wife, utterly disregarding the devotion his lawful wife had shown these years, managing the household and caring for the elders. Ingrate, lustful, unkind, and unfilial. With such a reputation, Jing Yuchuan could never hope to enter the censorate in this lifetime. As the surrounding curses grew louder, I rubbed my reddened eyes with satisfaction, covered my face, and hurriedly stepped down from the carriage. The new home had been prepared long ago. Inside and out, it was all arranged by Matron G, luxurious yet tastefully elegant. The moment I stepped through the door, I saw a man clad entirely in black, holding a baby, standing in the courtyard, grinning at me. Heard there's big news today. Time to celebrate. It was Song Huiyan, holding my son. The child's tiny hand, smeared with ink, slapped Song Huiyan's face repeatedly. This man, whose name alone could send officials into a cold sweat, patiently let the child smear his face. Tables and chairs were set up in the courtyard. Song Huiyan had personally arranged a feast, poured wine, and now looked at me expectantly. The dough and meat filling are ready. We're just waiting for the wife. I sighed helplessly, rolled up my sleeves, and headed straight for the kitchen with the cook. Who would have thought that the famously formidable magistrate Song was actually a simple-minded fool who loved stuffed buns? Back when the treason case broke, officials implicated in it were all on edge. They scrambled to send people to Song Huiyan's residence. I bribed the kitchen maid with a silver hairpin and spread a rumor throughout the mansion. Song Huiyan had peculiar tastes, disdaining ordinary beauties and favoring married women instead. Mr. and Mrs. Jing were utterly terrified. Without a moment's hesitation, they rushed to my courtyard, tearfully begging me to save the Jing family. They paid bribes to clear the way, paving my path into the Song residence. Once inside, I was utterly dumbfounded. Beauties danced and sang softly, reveling in moonlit elegance. Song Huiyan, clad in coarse Rami mourning robes, sat enthroned at the head of the table, head bowed over his food. Amidst the astonished gazes of others, I, adorned with jewels and ornaments, pulled 2 stuffed buns from my bosom and offered them to him. This high-ranking official showed no pretentiousness. Without even testing for poison, he took the pastries and popped them into his mouth. His eyes lit up slightly as he took a bite. He looked up, his gaze fixed on my face. These pastries. Did you make them? I nodded. My father taught me. The pastry was paper thin, the meat filling substantial, each bite bursting with savory flavor. In my past life, these very pastries had paved my way to Su, the captain of the Northern Command. Only then did Father Jing gain a chance to clear his name. Captain Su had told me. His superior had tasted my pastries and greatly enjoyed them. He took the chance to mention Father Zhang's case, and the official said he'd handle it as appropriate. Now, though I've been reborn, I have no power, influence, or talent on my own. Even the little I know about the shifting political climate comes from rumors that have traveled from the halls of power to the streets, distorted beyond recognition. I could only take a gamble. Fortunately, I won. Song Huiyan was generous. He took the meat pie recipe and promised to grant me one request. Before coming here, I only wanted to sever ties with the Jing family, leaving them to their own devices. But when the moment came to speak, I realized I couldn't accept that. Why should I? What if? What if the Jing family got incredibly lucky and Jing Yuchuan was reinstated? What if Father Jing used the life my father saved to live in luxury? What if? What if Jing Yuchuan returned, just like in my past life, with his mentor's favor and classmates' support, and once again rose swiftly through the ranks? Wouldn't I be suffocating with resentment? So, I took a deep breath, fixed my gaze on Song Huyen, and made a demand that could cost me my life. I want a child. Your Excellency, Song's child. For commoners to rise, there are no shortcuts, only life or death gambles. I bet the Jing family would help me open the door to Song Huyen. I also bet that the meat pies he loved in his past life would still be his favorite in this one. Now, I was betting he wasn't the cold-blooded monster the rumors made him out to be, but someone who yearned for his own bloodline and family bonds. In my past life, Song Huyen died before me. Rumors swirled that he was estranged from his family, that wearing mourning clothes daily was his way of cursing his own father. He even gave away his entire fortune before dying. He'd rather let his father starve than leave him a single coin. If he had a child, even if only for the child's sake, he would look after me a little. Just a shred of kindness from someone in his position would be enough for me. Seeing he hadn't flown into a rage or called for guards to kill me, only glaring at me with wide eyes, I decided to push my luck further. Your Excellency, don't you want a blood relative of your own? Rest assured, Lord Song. I have no family of my own, this child won't have troublesome relatives. My husband is still alive, so I won't cling to you. I also. Enough. I agree. Song Huyen cut me off, but understand this, I cannot marry you, nor will I give you any opportunity to use this child to entangle me. I knew my place well and never intended to cling. A woman carries a child for 10 months. I only needed him to protect me for those 10 months. That was enough. The agreement was sealed. That day, I did not leave the Song residence. 3 days later, accompanied by Nanny Ji and 16 guards, I was escorted back to the Jing household in Song Huyen's carriage. The Jing family members flushed crimson, turned ashen, paled, or turned purple. A veritable palette of colors, quite a sight to behold. They watched my belly grow day by day, fully aware this child was illegitimate, yet dared not accuse me of moral failings. Instead, they held their noses, letting me lord it over the household, bossing everyone around. When pushed too far, Mother Jing would stomp her feet and curse, "You lowly thing. Don't think carrying his child gives you any standing. That Song Huyen is as cold as stone, he'd beat his own father without a second thought, let alone the bastard in your belly. Wait till he grows tired of you. I'll see what face you have left to live." Nanny Ji raised her hand and delivered several slaps, stinging her eyes until they filled with tears. After enduring several beatings, she finally learned her lesson. She began secretly burning incense and praying to the Buddha behind closed doors. Every day, she knelt devoutly before the clay statue of the Bodhisattva, praying fervently. She prayed that Song Huyen would tire of me, abuse me, and kill me. But all she witnessed was Song Huyen frequently visiting under cover of night, lingering in my courtyard until the wee hours. Then the next day, they'd have to follow my orders, take out silver, and grease the palms of Song Huyen. They didn't want to pay this money, yet dared not refuse. They could only endure it silently. It wasn't until the full term of pregnancy passed and the child was born that the treason case was finally closed. The family finally seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, believing they had survived the ordeal. But I felt it wasn't over yet. After eating and drinking his fill, Song Huyen shed his usual dopey expression. He lowered his gaze and asked me, "What are your plans now?" He seemed in a good mood today. Based on my experience, when he was in a good mood, he was quite easy to talk to. I smiled obsequiously, looking at him eagerly. "There is indeed a crucial matter I wish to request your permission for, Your Excellency." Song Huyen's lips curved upward in a smile. "Whatever you ask, I shall grant." My chance! I would like to ask Your Excellency, while investigating this year's disaster relief funds, to also review the case files concerning the collapsed embankment from years past. I hear that embankment was repaired year after year, yet collapsed year after year. Song Huyen lowered his eyes and hummed in acknowledgement. "And what else? Is that all? I'll look into the damn matter. But what I'm asking today is about your own plans. Now that you've divorced him, what will become of you?" Leaning against the stone table, he toyed with the tassel at his waist before suddenly adding, If you wish to marry me, it's not impossible." One sentence sent my heart racing wildly. I dared not speak for a long while. My mind was in chaos, 1,000 thoughts flashing through it in an instant. Was he testing me? wanting to see if I'd cling to him after the divorce. I shook my head decisively, answering with righteous conviction, "Your Excellency may rest assured. I, Song Yuzhua, keep my word. I will never use the child to entangle Lord Song." Song Huayan lifted his head, his dark eyes fixed on me for a moment. Then he abruptly stood and left. His footsteps were hurried, as if chased by a dog. After that day, Song Huayan seemed terribly busy. He never showed his face again. I couldn't sit idle. So I took the silver I'd extorted from the Jing family, gathered some homeless children from the streets, and reopened the Song escort agency. My father's old associates heard the news and all came back to join me. With frequent droughts and floods in recent years, our agency also escorted disaster victims while conducting business. Our reputation grew steadily, and I was swamped with work every day. With Aunt Chi keeping watch, I never missed a single piece of news about the Jing family. Not long after I left, they were evicted from the mansion for failing to pay rent. Xing Yuchuan knocked on several old friends' doors until he finally found a sucker. He borrowed a 2-courtyard house to settle his entire family. His character was lacking, but he had talent. Encouraged by Bai Ruolian, he began attending poetry gatherings. After gaining some renown, he sold numerous paintings, calligraphy works, and play scripts at high prices. Life gradually improved. With better circumstances, his spirits lifted, and he set his sights on the imperial examinations. He even penned a tale. A young master, after 3 years of hardship, returns home to find his parents oppressed by a tyrannical wife. Enraged, he divorces her. When this tale hit the stage, it didn't take long for someone to point fingers, claiming I was that tyrant wife. After Aunt G went to see the play, she came back fuming, slapping her thigh. "That play is utter nonsense. Who'd be dumb enough to believe it? Kidnapped by bandits on her wedding night? What a ridiculous plot. What bandits in the capital city? And that little bitch surnamed Bai is portrayed as a heroine? With those skinny arms and legs, I could knock her half to death with one punch." I wasn't surprised. Xing Yuchuan was the master of twisting the truth. But his good days are finally coming to an end. A few days later, Xing Yuchuan and Bai Ruolian personally came to my door, delivering their wedding invitation. He held a jade-inlaid folding fan, dressed in a deep blue brocade robe, grinning triumphantly. "Song Yuzhua, do you really think that because Song Huayan played you a few times, a country bumpkin can suddenly become a phoenix? If he truly cared for you, how could he let you endure wind and sun, appearing in public and dealing with so many men? As for me, I've always been kind-hearted. I simply couldn't bear to see the daughter of my benefactor spend the rest of her life lonely and helpless. How about this? Kneel and apologize to me. After I marry, if Lianer agrees, I'll allow you to become a concubine." I turned to Bai Ruolian. "He wants to take a concubine right in front of you, and you agree to this?" Bai Ruolian remained composed, lifting her lips in a smile. "My husband is kind-hearted. Even when he sees stray cats or dogs, he often brings them home to care for. As his lawful wife, I possess this much tolerance." I understood. Follow the husband wherever he goes. Respect. True love must not be torn apart. So I waved my hand, signaling the guards to sweep these two out the door with their brooms. "Your Jing family's threshold is too high for me to cross. After your wedding, I shall present a grand gift." I keep my word. The day after Xing Yuchuan's wedding, a group of disaster victims bearing a petition signed by 10,000 people struck the drum of public complaints. They accused the Vice Minister of Works of substituting inferior materials, using straw and gravel to reinforce the dikes, which caused frequent floods and left tens of thousands homeless. The emperor was furious and ordered a thorough investigation. It was then discovered that the case originated over a decade ago, involving more than a dozen officials of varying ranks across the provinces. Among them was the name of Zhang's father. At the time, Zhang's father served as a local prefect. Disregarding the people's lives, he embezzled the silver allocated for the dike's construction. This became his capital for securing a transfer to the capital. Before the Jing family could even take down their celebratory red lanterns, the entire household was imprisoned. By the emperor's boundless mercy, their lives were spared. They were sentenced to 3 months' imprisonment followed by exile to the northern frontier, with no possibility of pardon. This included Bai Ruolian, who had followed her husband wherever he went. Before the Jing family's exile, I visited the prison. Jing Yuchuan, now lame in one leg, was frantically dodging rats as they chased him. Hearing footsteps, he suddenly lunged toward the bars and shouted desperately, "Let me out. I'm a cabinet minister. I helped the emperor ascend the throne." Others took him for a madman. But I knew he had been reborn. Only the timing of his rebirth was poor. No matter how many schemes he plotted, there was no room for them to unfold. As he saw me approaching, Jing Yuchuan's gaze gradually cleared. He smoothed his disheveled hair, lifted his chin, and regarded me with a faint, mocking smile. "I know you're not the same as in my past life. The Jing family's current plight, it's your revenge, isn't it? How laughable. You think having those lowly ants frame me will utterly destroy the Jing family? A criminal minister is still a minister. Even in prison now, I hold the fates of countless powerful figures in my hands. Officials protecting officials, it's not just empty talk. The future landscape is mapped out in my mind. My former classmates will rise to high positions, and my mentor plots for me. Song Yuzhua, no matter how many times you reincarnate, you lowly commoner will never bring me down." I nodded indifferently. "Oh? No false accusations then? The case files are genuine, irrefutable evidence. Only the victims weren't from the same wave. The Jing family's crimes have spread far and wide. 1,000 schemes cannot silence the voices of the people." Meeting Jing Yuchuan's incredulous gaze, I kindly informed him, "Your esteemed teacher recently declared his greatest regret was ever taking a scheming individual like you as a disciple. He has already expelled you from his disciples. Your former classmates, now mere minor officials, say they are ashamed to be associated with you. They've even composed numerous poems denouncing your Jing family." Watching Jing Yuchuan's gaze gradually dim, I let a satisfied smile curve my lips. "Most importantly, Jing Yuchuan, there is no future. You die today." The jailer stepped forward, rope in hand, and hung it deftly from the beam. Jing Yuchuan's arrogance and resentment dissolved into nothingness amidst his struggles. I turned and walked out. I passed by Zhang's mother's curses and by Ruolian's sobs. Zhang's mother remained as fiery as ever, cursing Bai Ruolian as a harbinger of misfortune, claiming that marrying her had brought such calamity upon their family. Bai Ruolian offered no retort, only murmuring in the darkness, "I did nothing wrong. I followed the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. I studied the classics diligently. I am virtuous and kind. I did nothing wrong." Spotting me, she lunged forward, stretching out her arms to grab me. "Tell me, is it my fault? I did so much for their family. What exactly did I do wrong?" Only a few days had passed. This once fair and lovely woman had wasted away beyond recognition. I pulled my cloak tighter around me and kept walking, offering no answer to her question. The long road of exile, she could ponder that herself. The past scattered like clouds. Stepping out of the prison, I felt light and free. All that had been left behind. Today, at last, I could live out my life in peace. Outside the gate, Song Huayan held a lantern, raising an eyebrow as he smiled at me. "After ridding the people of a menace today, shouldn't you come back to the mansion with me to celebrate?" The warm yellow light fell on his face, softening the usual sternness of his features. I strode forward, waving at him. "Let's go home and eat pancakes." Song Huayan's casual notes, "One day, the Prince of Ying is foolish, and his followers are even more so. A bunch of idiots, hearing rumors, rushed to stuff people into my mansion, as if afraid others wouldn't know they were guilty and nervous. I'll see just who's involved. One day, oh no. There are simply too many people. They're going to bankrupt me. Can't these people bring their own food when they come?" Today, finally, someone sensible showed up. No singing, no dancing, just delivered 2 large flatbreads. They were actually quite tasty. Tastes a bit like what my master used to make for me. Only she asked me for a child. Seeing her pouty little mouth, I agreed without thinking. Considering I was abandoned by my father and despised by my mother, having a blood relative doesn't sound so bad. But first, I must protect the child's mother. I'll send a group of guards to protect the courtyard and arrange for some secret guards. With Nanny G around, that should be sufficient, right? One day, Turns out the child's mother is that little unlucky thing who ran off on her wedding night. Seems Jing Yuchuan is a fool. His family even cursed the poor girl. Damn them. Guess people shouldn't be idle. More standing punishment at night means less chatter during the day. One day, heard the child's mother used my name to swindle Zhang's family out of a lot of silver? Clever girl. But this Jing family is just too stingy and tight-fisted. I must ask His Majesty for more valuable gifts to send over. I can't let my child's mother suffer. One day, why does Song Yuzhua only wear a silver hairpin? It's not like I can't afford a gold one. And those clothes, they should be replaced with shoe brocade. One day, got drunk today and chatted longer than usual with Song Yuzhua. Don't know why, but I always feel so at ease with her. Suddenly felt like telling her about my past. My real name is Liu Huiyan. Song is my master's surname. When I was 8, a passing Taoist said I was a star of calamity, destined to have no family. Meaning I'd bring misfortune to my loved ones, I suppose. After that, my father abandoned me and my mother despised me. I was cast out to the countryside early on, left to fend for myself. Just as I was starving to death, my kind master found me and took me in. I mastered martial arts and entered the capital to join the Northern Command. I intended to find my master and repay him. But before I could seek him out, he died. Perhaps the Taoists spoke truth, the curse of the Star of Calamity might indeed be real. Life holds no meaning. Upon hearing this, Song Yuzhua suddenly showed me her belly. It's moving! A large bulge appears. She said, life may be bitter, but if you endure, there will always be a sweet reward. You've suffered all these years simply because you encountered unworthy parents. But blood ties aren't just with parents, they extend to children too. She said the child inside her moving belly was waving hello to its father. Every time I spoke, the baby stirred. So I wasn't despised by everyone. My child adores its father. I'd planned to live 3 more years, wrap up my current case, squander my fortune, and die, no big deal. But now, I feel like I have something to look forward to. One day, Yuzhua was in a good mood today. Hearing I'd been busy all day, she made me 2 small dishes. So delicious. I've decided to bring Jing Yuchuan back and have them divorce sooner. The end.